Top 10 aircraft passed to the devs that should have been added already. Hello guys, once again it's Matt. Thank you all the members, all the patrons. Make sure to subscribe. And today I wanted to do a top 10 list, again another list, but of aircraft that were actually passed to the developers to actually be implemented in the game, but they are not in the game yet. Aircraft that I think should have been added. Some of them a long time ago, some of them not so long ago. So yeah, let's get into it. And by the way, some honorable mentions at the end of the video, okay? So the first one, we start with a Soviet version, a Soviet aircraft that was made to be basically an upgrade to the MiG-21 bis. The MiG-21-93, I already, of course, did a whole video about this aircraft. Remember, it is being used in the Indian Air Forces, the MiG-21 UPG. And it is basically a modernization of a MiG-21 bis for the existing already produced MiG-21 bises, right? You would have the Kopio radar, if I'm not mistaken, the radar on the Su-39, right? Ground radar, everything like that. You would be able to carry R-77s, R-27s, R-73s. So it would be a super MiG-21, and it would be perfect as a premium or event vehicle compared to something like the F-20 as well, right? So yeah, hopefully this thing is added soon, and it's being accepted to the devs or passed to developers for considerations for a very long time. So yeah. By the way, I went until like 2019. I know there are stuff that came before that, but it's more or less just stuff from like World War II and stuff, and I decided to just do a video about jets, right? So yeah, it's the main focus of the channel, of course. The second one, we have American Interceptor, the F-106A. This jet is pretty interesting, and I don't know why we don't have any interceptors. Gaijin really doesn't like these interceptors for some reason. But yeah, basically it is also known as the Delta Dart, right? It is an interceptor made in the late 50s to actually be basically a point defense interceptor, right? Substituting or basically being better than the Delta Dagger from previously, right? With some modifications, it could carry a Vulcan cannon, and of course you would use the AIM-4 as the main missile. Another aircraft that could use the AIM-4, the missile that we don't have in the game. The performance of it would be pretty amazing, more than 2,400 kilometers per hour of max speed, Mach 2.3, right? Maximum altitude of, a service ceiling, right, of 17,000 meters. So yeah, rate of climb of 150 meters per second. So it would be kind of a high BR actually, comparing to what people might think about this very old aircraft, right? But it would be an interesting interceptor to come to the US. The next one would be, of course, the F4F ICE. This was also mentioned at being, relayed to the developers. And of course, this would be the F4F that we have in the game, with some upgrades to the radar, especially the APG-65, the radar of the F-18A, and of course, AIM-120s, right? Although we don't have the Fox 3s yet, and I sure think that it will come very soon, the F4F ICE could still have come, it could still be an aircraft firing 9Ls or Ms or something like that in the top ranks of the German Tech 3. Until we receive that, at least the West German Tech 3 would have a fighter, capable of being a rank 8 aircraft. So kind of sad that this aircraft is not added yet, even without the AIM-120s. The next one, the fifth one, would be the fourth one, sorry, the F-18. Of course, the F-18 was accepted into the suggestions to the developers for a very long time. It was mentioned more than once, but I decided to bring the F-18A over here. And of course, this would be the early variant of the F-18. No AIM-120s, nothing like that. It would be just Sparrows, AIM-9Ms and Ls. And yeah, basically the normal F-18 with the normal weapons that we would see. A very good air-to-ground as well. There's no reason why this aircraft wasn't added yet. It wouldn't bring anything too power creep, too much of a power creep anyway to the game. It's an aircraft that everybody loves. It's my favorite American aircraft of all time. So I just don't understand why we don't have at least the initial version of the F-18 Hornet, right? So yeah. And the next one, it's another aircraft that I kind of don't understand why it's not, it didn't come to the game yet. It's an US AV-8B, right? Of course, it was suggested for the developers many variants of this aircraft, including the NA version, for example, which is the night attack version, and some others. So they should decide what variant they should add. I personally think the Plus variant would be perfect, since it's already in the game in Italy with the radar and stuff, and it would be able to carry M120s once we get those missiles in the game as well. So it would be a very interesting VTOL aircraft that could carry Fox 3 missiles, right? So I don't understand why this aircraft is not added to the US yet, even though it is already in Italy. The sixth one, of course, a Mirage 2005 EI for China, for Taiwan, right? This Mirage is already, I mean, it's confirmed that it will come at some point. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but still, this being a thing that I kind of don't understand why we didn't receive that aircraft yet. I mean, it would be the step up from the F-16 AMLU that we have in the game, probably. I don't know how much better it would be, but at least a 12.3 aircraft it would be. So it would be a step up from the MLU, at least in BR, you know, being very similar to the 2005F that they have in that we have in the French factory, right? So very similar to that aircraft, and yeah. The next one, Su-24M. Of course, I still believe that the Su-24 should come soon. I mean, it's an aircraft that is basically the counterpart to the Tornado and the F-111 for the Soviets, so why not add the aircraft? Of course, they accepted the Su-24M, which is the 80s modification to the Su-24. I still believe that the first version should come first, just like we have with the F-111, right? Before we see the M variant. But still, the M variant would be very interesting. More modern missiles, TV-guided stuff, that would be very cool. And of course, even the same type of system that the F-111 has in the game, the MAW system, right? The missile warning system that we have in the F-111 and some other aircraft. So it would be very, very cool. The next two of them are indeed Soviet Interceptors, two of them that you probably know already what they are. The first one would be the Sukhoi 15 TM. They actually accepted that version into consideration. It would be early version, I mean a late version of the Su-15, but an early interceptor for the Soviets. It wouldn't be the most amazing thing in BVR, but it would have the ability to carry BVR missiles, and of course with the R8s or R98s, right? And of course R60Ms, etc., right? The performance is where these aircraft actually shines, you know. It was a very fast aircraft, very good at turning as well. It would be very similar to something like the J8 that we have in the Chinese factory, right? And yeah, it's too iconic of an aircraft to not come to the game, and it was already accepted into consideration. Why not? Isn't it here, right? And the next one, another, of course, interceptor, the MiG-25. Of course, it was mentioned multiple times. I included here the PDS, which would be basically a P model that was upgraded to the PD standard, but we can have the PD as well. I think the P models would be, this is the late 60s, early 70s version of the MiG-25, right, interceptor. This would be very lacking in some extents. I mean, it doesn't even use the R60M radar missile, you know. So, but the PD and PDS would be able to carry R60Ms, which is, I think, the main thing about an aircraft that doesn't have any type of gun, right? An R60M would help it. The R40s, RDs would be amazing missiles as well, being able to hit targets up to like 60 kilometers. So it is a pretty good interceptor. Of course, not having a cannon and not being able to carry gun pods like the Su-15 could be a problem, but maybe as an event vehicle or something at least would be cool to see MiG-25. And the last one, the FCK, guys, or the basically indigenous, fighter made by the AIDC company, the Xinkuo, I think it's called. It is a Taiwanese, aircraft, and it is very similar to something like an F-16 / an F-18. So it isn't the most powerful aircraft ever, but it would be very, very interesting. It would be like an early F-18 or an F-16 or something like that. So it doesn't, like, it probably will be the same BR as the MLU initially at least, but maybe with the certain missiles correct, it can even be the top rank aircraft for the Chinese factory on that a part of the tech tree, right? So yeah, should come as well, an aircraft that already has the performance to be in the game and it's still not. And then we have some honorable mentions. Of course, there are so many aircraft that I can mention here, aircraft that should already be in the game, but I decided to choose three here. The Atlas Cheetah, of course, a version of the Kafir that could actually be added to something like the UK. The Tucano, of course, which is a Brazilian light attack aircraft that I think should be added at a certain point as an event, battle pass, or something like that, or premium. And the Ak-25M as well, which is a very early 50s or like late 40s, early 50s interceptor for the Soviet Union as well, which I think would be cool with the 237s. And basically these are it, guys. All of these aircraft were already passed to the devs, but were not added. Does it mean anything? Well, no, because pass it to the devs just means that they are considering it and not that they are going to add, but still it would be cool to see all of these aircraft in the game, wouldn't it? So yeah, leave it in the comments what is your idea of an aircraft actually passed to the devs for consideration, but it didn't get added yet. I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, and bye guys. See you.